So I'm back home, and I was still having a little bit of an anxiety attack when I was at the Walgreens, and I had to vent off a video which will not be posted because it was too long. And I've got my chicken reheating in the oven. I actually remembered I had those stuffed cabbage rolls, so I actually had those for breakfast because it's very filling, a lot of protein with the burger, and a little bit of rice, so it's not too many carbs for my blood sugar issues, which are much better now than they were. I lost like 40 something pounds at least. And I'm just having a quick, this is a nip of blackberry brandy for $1.79, some soda water that's flavored, and a little bit of grenadine and ice, and I'm just sipping it. I'm not gonna be pounding booze tonight. Sometimes I drink just so I could sleep, and I know that's wrong. My mom did the same thing once in a while, and my dad observed that. But I'm not driving, and I'm not like falling down and cracking my head open like I've seen some do, which is sad. My brother went through that a few times, and we were always concerned about him. And he would go to a bar and somebody would start buying him shots, and I'm like, you guys know you're not supposed to be buying him hard liquor. And they would come home and pour him out into the yard, and my dad and I would have to go get his pickup truck at 9 or so at night, or 10 at night, from the bar and drive. So he would drive me in his car, and then I would drive Tom's pickup truck home, because it was just, people are idiots, you know. They shouldn't be doing that with somebody they know is susceptible like that. I can go to a bar and drink one whiskey with lots of ice and sip it for a long time, then I'll have one glass of wine, and then maybe a snack, or even if not, that's it. I'll eat a snack before I go in. And I really don't. My brother had a lot of issues and accidents, and luckily no one was ever hurt. But you think about that, you think, gosh, what if I got in a car after drinking and I hurt someone, or I hurt myself, or wrecked my car, and then what would my son think of that? And I can't even do that. When I was younger, maybe a few times I did, and then I regretted it the next day. I said, Jennifer, don't do that again. And I'm glad I'm home, and I've got some soda water that's unsweetened. It's kind of gross because it doesn't have sugar, but it's good to mix with stuff. And that lady coming to my door today really threw me for a loop with the panic and anxiety, because what happens is I'll start bagging up things to take out of the house because I feel like I'm going to run away like I was doing before. And then I go, okay, it's okay to put stuff in the car, but you're not going to veer off course of what you're doing, and you're not going to run away. You're going to do your stuff. Then you're going to go home. I got to find that job application because it's in one of the bags I was packing today. And that is normal for my family. My mother did the same thing. She overpacked, and it's anxiety. It's like, what would happen if I don't have this particular thing? And you know you're not going to need it unless it's something like aspirin or a Band-Aid, like a first aid kit type of stuff. Why are you bringing all this extra stuff? And I did that when my brother was dying. We drove out to Madison, Wisconsin, cross country, and we had to bring the cat because she was 2 months away from her rabies, so every 12 months, and then she was 14 months. So the cat hotels wouldn't take her, and I didn't have the presence of mind to find a sitter online to come and feed her. So we put her in the carrier and brought her with us, and cost extra money in hotel rooms, because I'm not going to lie and sneak a cat in a hotel. And people on Facebook were like, what are you doing? Are you on vacation? I'm like, no, I'm going to visit my dying brother, and I had to bring the cat because there was no one to watch her, and the southern people were screaming downstairs, the relatives of the landlord and landlady that lived there, and they were horrible. And the daughter would not do a thing about her mother. And I was calling the cops on them, and they would shut the light off and be quiet, or the guy would lie and say, we weren't being noisy. And what are the cops going to do? And one day I was running the washer early because I was taking a trip to see my aunt. I was taking a bus ride to see her and she invited me very kindly. And so, to her house on Cape Cod. Nice old home. Not too shabby, not too fancy, just right, you know? And that's the way I like houses. It doesn't have to be grand, but it doesn't have to be a tiny hovel like this. And I only smoked like 4 or 5 cigarettes today. I bought a pack this morning, and I had 1 or 2 on the way up to Waterville, where I was going, and then I just, you know, might have had one on the way home, but then I'm like, I don't feel like smoking. I don't really feel like pounding booze. A little sip of something is fine, but... And this lady made my decision easier for me, because I've been waffling, should I stay or should I go? And now I'm like, well, Jennifer, all signs point to go. I cleaned my storage unit out the other day, and there's only a couple things left, that like folding chairs, things that are not important, a couple empty boxes, and I will contact the owner. I don't have his phone number. It's a new owner, and I forgot to mail my payment, and I didn't have it. So I'm gonna drop him a postcard or a note and say, sorry, man. And I took the lock off, but I took everything out. It was books and sentimental things that I wanted, but nothing. There's nothing of value in there. I thought maybe my ice skates were there, but I guess I got rid of them a while ago. I'd gotten a pair of beautiful white ice skates, size 8, I believe, or 8.5, depends on who makes them, because I have wide feet, I have duck feet. People like my feet, but I'm like, no, they're too wide. Because if something squishes my feet, if your feet hurt, what are you going to do? You can't walk around with hurting feet, man. So, Robert would laugh at me. I like my flip-flops. And anyway, I'm feeling calm, you know, even though she's threatening me to serve me with an eviction notice. I'm like, well, go ahead. I know there's a procedure. When I lived in Illinois with a roommate, there was one time we didn't pay rent on time, and they put a notice on the door, and you get 5 days to come up with it, and then you're out. But it's in a contract. I have no contract here. It's month to month. These are family members who hate each other's guts, and she's taking over for his POA, and the sons disagree with it. She's not even related to him by blood, and she came here and she was trying to tell me, but you know, he's on an ankle bracelet, and you know, that means it's just like prison in his home, and you may not text or call him. I'm like, well, are you going to come up and prime my well when it goes dead of water, or is he going to call his buddy to do it after 2.5 days of me being not able to flush my toilet? And then I had to plunge it, and then it got unseated from the seal, and it was pouring out from below, and I'm like, oh, Jennifer, this guy ain't never gonna fix this. So I did it myself. I got it reseated, and then all the drains were clogged for some reason, so I unclogged all the drains. My sink was clogged for a day and a half, and I finally got it unclogged, because if I call him, he will not get it done. Like my hot water heater busted last year. I went like a week and a half with no hot water because he was waffling about fixing an old rusted hot water heater and replacing an element. Plane's like, oh, it's rusted. And he ran and got a new one and replaced it right away. But I went without hot water for over a week while he waffled. And then when he went to jail for his mistake, he made this girl POA. He said, who should I do? This niece lady or my other son, not the one that lives with him, the one that's responsible. And I said, I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's your money. It's your life. And he chose her, and I think he chose wrong, because she's very small town drama. I've got his PO. You may never contact him again. We'll come here with a code officer and get everything fixed. But I'm serving you with an eviction notice. I'm having you served. I got your text messages. I have them saved. I'm like, what up? I didn't say anything threatening. First Amendment, lady. I called the lady at the bank, or she called me, about my account that's in arrears, and I said, I'm trying to get things going here. I'm sorry I'm late. And I explained to her what happened, and she said, she can't tell you not to talk to your landlord. I'm like, well, she thinks she can. But the guy doesn't answer his phone. He doesn't have voicemail, so I was texting the son's girlfriend from my other phone saying, listen, this place ain't right. And by the way, my son wants to talk to you. He's going to come out here and talk to you. I didn't say anything threatening. I just said talk. Talking is not a threat. My son is upset over the way these people are treating me, and he wants to have a discussion with them about how they are mistreating his mother. So, I'm sorry, talking is not threats. And she's making it all to be some big dramatic thing, and I'm like, well, whatever, dear. I don't want to stay here anyway, and as soon as I get my act together and sell my car or whatever it is, job that I gotta do, it's the middle of the month, I got whatever time it takes for them to go through an eviction process. I already texted her. I just texted her saying, I'm going to be late with the rent. And she goes, did you get my text yesterday? I'm like, no, because I have notifications shut off while I'm focused on my job hunting and getting myself together. And she's like, don't yell at me. And I'm like, you know what? Yelling is not against the law. I'm not threatening you. But I used my mom voice and I said, you will not come to this place and knock on my door at the drop of a hat. 24 hours notice is the law. And she was like, literally trying to talk over me. And I said, you can talk to my attorney, which I have one, but it's for another issue. So I'll consult with her before I give out her name and number. She's like, text me her name and number. And I'm like, yeah, I will. I'm right on it. Like that. Oh, if that's yelling, you don't want to hear me yell. Because when I yell, people step off, man. When I use the mother voice, the Jennifer voice, my son and daughter know. That's why my daughter doesn't talk to me on the phone, because I have the voice. Texting only, or send a letter, or send a box, gift box, or whatever. So my son texts me, and he would talk to me if I really asked him to, but it's easier for him to text. And I try to keep it to a minimum because I have a tendency to write a lot and talk a lot. And I used to put Robert to sleep. He'd be over in the chair and I'd be looking over. I'm like, Robert, are you sleeping? He goes, oh, yes, dear. You have such a hypnotic voice. And he'd say something nice to me. Because did I tell you how beautiful you are today? And I'm like, what? I'm over here cooking and cleaning and you're telling me this. And he would kiss my hand before bed and say, you remind me of a Renaissance painting. Did I tell you how much I love you? Will you come to bed soon? And I'm like, it's 9 o'clock, dude. I'll come to bed in a while after I'm done watching my British shows, okay? Because he had his man shows, and we overlapped with some stuff, but there was some stuff I liked that he was like, oh, this is boring. And I'm like, oh, I don't like some of your stuff. So he would watch it on his Chromebook, and I was going to sell that. It was worth like $20. I'm like, I better keep it so I have a laptop thing to use. Mine's still in the shop. I think the guy ran away to Hawaii or something and took my laptop with him or left it in the shop. Hope he's all right, man. Wait, why do I have an accent? I don't know. Sometimes it comes out and I have a weird accent. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that. So I'm going to sit here and sip my drink. I've only had 2 sips. I'm not wasted. Sorry. Everybody in my family is like, have you been drinking? While they're cracking open a beer or a wine or a whiskey and pounding it down, they go, Jennifer, have you been drinking? I'm like, nah. And they're surprised. They're like, are you sure? I'm like, you want to do a breathalyzer? You want to do a blood alcohol? I'm not, just because I got drunk a few times when my husband was dying or dead. Sorry. I mean, I couldn't get drunk when he was dying because I was taking care of him. Except one night when he went in the hospital again, I did drink a few of those little itty-bitty champagne bottles and went, because he was dying and back in the hospital. But man, my family has a weird way of putting me down. And I make a joke. I'm like, hey, Kevin, let me show you how I could rub 2 nickels together and make $1 million. He goes, stop talking that way. Don't say that. Or don't get a big head, Jennifer. I'm like, okay, I won't. And everybody thinks I need a degree, but none of them has more than a year or community college or nothing. Except Jennifer has to get a degree. My dad wanted me to get a degree. My aunt wants me to get a degree. I'm like, are you going to pay for it? You're going to pay for my dorm? You're going to watch my cats for me and, take all my stuff and pay for it to be stored somewhere while I go get a degree because you think I need one in something? No. If I want a degree, I'll get one. If I don't want one, I won't. But right now, I got to survive and get my act together because panic and anxiety are horrible, horrible things. Your brain is telling you run, and you run, and then you realize, oh, I'm too far away from home. Why did I do this? And it's because of the fight or flight, and I chose flight. If somebody pushes me, I'll choose fight. If you put my back up against the wall, I will defend myself. However, I am not uncivilized. I'm not someone who's going to be a street fighter. What the hell, man? I'm just myself. And I choose to mostly walk away and ignore things instead of being confrontational. I don't like to be confrontational, and I don't like to be confronted at my door by some ignorant, dumber than a post woman from Hodunk, Maine, telling me she's going to evict me because I said I don't like the way this place is being kept up. Too bad, lady. You chose this job of POA. Now deal with it. And this is my Steve McQueen ball. Remember Chicken Run? But what was the movie with Steve McQueen? The Germans would put him in the lockup thing, the hole or whatever, and he'd be whacking that baseball. I Katie bouncing the baseball. That was a good movie. I love Steve McQueen. Yeah, I bought myself a scratch ticket because I gotta have hope, even though it's math for dummies. It's part of the Maine tradition. Anyway, Rod Stewart's helped me out, so thanks, Rod Stewart. You're all right. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.